I do love vegetables. I have no problems with people being vegan. I really don't. But I have to say, I'm not a great fan of imitation meat, for example, like imitation burgers and things like that. I think if you're going to be vegan or vegetarian, you eat wonderful vegetables. That's what you do. You eat beautiful vegetables. Anyway, that's my theory. But don't give me a hard time because I don't mind the odd steak. But once a week and sometimes twice a week, we have a vegetarian day where we just eat vegetables. And one of the things that's terribly important, if you're going to do them well, you do them well, make a vegetable stock. Easy to make. It's important, a couple of steps, and a bit easier to make. And it's vegan, and you have it in the freezer. And I'm just going to show you how to do that because I think that adds so much body, so much richness to any vegetable dish. What I've got here is I've got a couple of large or medium to large carrots, a couple of leeks washed very well. Watch the leeks because they grow in sand. A couple of large stalks of celery. I've also got a couple of cloves of garlic which I must pull out. I've got a couple of large onions. Give the garlic a bit of a whack. Don't peel it, just a bit of a whack just to release the aromas, and then I cover that with cold water. Cold water, not hot, and I cover it quite well. And what I'm going to do is bring it to the boil, then turn it down to a simmer and simmer it for 25 minutes. And then we'll add a few other bits and pieces. Now, I am going to add some wine at some stage. Now, it's very, very important if you are vegan that you buy a vegan-friendly wine. And I will tell you why in 2 seconds, just after I get this in. Cold water up to the boil, simmer it. Simmer for 25 minutes. Now the wine. There is a thing called isinglass. Wonderful name, isn't it? And it's made with fish guts. Now, as a vegan, you do not want fish guts. Or they sometimes use milk and sometimes they use egg white. And that is to clarify or fine, they call it, the wine. So this is Swan Bay, which is from my mates at Scotchman Hill and the Bellarine Peninsula, which is terrific. And on the back it's got, what has it got? Vegan friendly wine, that's right. So it's got no isinglass, no egg white, no milk. So be very careful about that because it defeats the purpose, doesn't it? If you are vegan and then suddenly you turn around and you drink some wine that is clarified with fish guts. Anyway, enough of that. We will come back and we're going to do a couple of lovely dishes made with vegetables, and none of them are going to look like a burger or a steak or anything like that. Right, my 25 minutes are up. About half a dozen black peppercorns that are on top there, whole black peppercorns that is. 2 star anise, a few fennel seeds, about half a dozen, whole ones once again, and some herbs. Now with the herbs what I need is I need some Italian parsley stalks, just the stalks themselves, about half a bunch of that, and about half a bunch of basil. And what we then do with that is we simmer it for another 10 minutes and we will add a couple of other things to finish. All right guys, my 10 minutes are up. Let's please turn that off. And what we then do is with my vegan friendly, I love the vegan friendly name. Why don't you just say it's vegan? Why say vegan friendly? About 1/4 cup of that in, that's once it's turned off. Half a lemon sliced. So that goes in as well. Just give it a bit of a mix around. And what we do is we cool that. Now cool it right down and then you put it in the fridge overnight. Now with everything in it. And I'll tell you why, because what happens if you've got everything in it, it will develop its flavour. So you've got all the veggies and things in. And can I just show you, because I'm a bit of a cheat, I have done one before. That's from last night. And what I've also done, because I haven't done it here, because I'm going to keep this because it's great in the freezer. So the next day what you do is you strain it and put it in takeaway containers and put it in your freezer so you've always got that vegetable stock. I've diced 2 medium-sized eggplant, you know, a fairly decent size, and I have sauteed them in oil. And that is to soften them, because if you cook them just straight unsauteed, they come out all tough and revolting. So we need to do that first, and I've done that just in oil, and I've drained it fairly well, because you don't want 3 tons of oil in your curry. Did I tell you what I'm making? I'm making an eggplant and spinach curry. I don't think I did. I think I was hiding that. Right, so what I've got here is 1.5 onions and 2 chilies, which I've sliced finely. The onion, of course, I've chopped finely, but the chili, I've left the seeds, and you can take the seeds out if you like. It's up to you guys. Also got 1 really large plump clove of garlic, which I've cut in half. If they're smaller, use 2. Got some ginger, which I'm just going to grate. Nice fresh ginger. And if you need a little bit more oil, you can always add it. I don't want this to colour. Look, you can get a little bit of colour, but not 3 tons. 3 tons of colour. Some spices. Right, have a look what I've got here. I've got turmeric. I've got ground coriander. I've got bay leaves. I've got a cinnamon stick. I've got ground coriander. I've got garam masala. I've got a few cardamom pods, which I've just smashed a bit just to release them. Did I say turmeric? I think I did. And I'll just break that cinnamon stick in half, and we'll throw that all in, remembering that when you do spices, it's good to toast them. So you put them in with those onions when there's still some oil in there, and that will toast them and release the aromas. And you don't stand completely over the top, otherwise you might start to choke. Don't burn the spices. There is nothing worse. To that, I'm then going to add about 1/2 cup of my beautiful veggie stock, which I'm really pleased with that stock. It really is absolutely delightful. It's got lovely flavour. I've got some tomatoes here. Now these tomatoes, what I've done with that is I have peeled some lovely fresh ripe tomatoes, and then I've just pureed them roughly. So about 200 grams of that. Some Dijon mustard, about a good tablespoon. Teaspoon of sambal oleic. Once again, I checked the container. It's vegan friendly, or it just said vegan. It didn't say vegan friendly. That must be an Australian thing. I think Australians like to say vegan friendly. And also some coconut cream. I just want about 200. You can always add some more if need be. And we're just going to bring that to the boil, and then we're going to return the eggplant. I will add some salt, I think. Don't add too much, but you do need some, and we'll check later. All right, let's have a little taste before I put the eggplant in, just to make sure I'm happy with it. Oh, that's good. That's good. Now, don't sound surprised. Can you imagine Jamie Oliver tasting something like that? And he always sticks his finger in it, the dirty little beggar. But he's tasting it and saying, spitting it out and saying, that is revolting. Of course I'm going to say it's good, but it actually is good. In fact, it is absolutely delightful. But when you watch TV chefs, I always sort of think to myself, I wonder if it really is good. I sort of know because, you know, I can see what they've put in it. And I cook that, I would say, for about 10 minutes, because maybe a little bit more, because I want the flavour to be taken up by that eggplant. And we'll throw it over the back, because I am doing another dish. We grab another wok, sort of wok. Somebody wrote to me recently, they said, that's not a wok. A wok doesn't have a flat bottom. Yeah, you're quite right. But it's actually terrific to use inside. So, it's sort of a wok. Now, we've got oil in that. To that, I'm then going to add 1/2 an onion finely chopped, and a couple of stalks of celery, which I've diced really finely. We will also add some garlic to that. So I'm doing a pot au feu of carrots, which to me is a lovely idea. And we just saute that. To that I then add about 4 or 5 carrots, which I've cut on the diagonal. Now I'm obviously doing more than 1 or 2 portions, that is, because I like the idea of having it in the freezer. To that we then add some thyme and a couple of bay leaves, and we just toss that around. I reckon I could do with a little bit more oil there, not too much, but a little bit more. And we just get the cooking process started, and then we'll add some liquids. My famous veggie stock, of course. Now look, I know I'm being a bit lazy here and draining it to water. Of course the idea is to strain the whole lot, don't you? And don't waste the veggies. Whip them up and use them as a side dish, or even with some other stock, make it into a soup. Be really nice, wouldn't it? We will also throw some of that tomato, and that fresh tomato that I've just pureed, about 400 grams of that, accurately measured. A little bit of sambal. This is optional, the sambal. Some salt, quite a bit of salt. I always find carrots need a bit of salt. Simmer that reasonably rapidly until it's a bit of a glaze, and what we will then do is think about adding some orange and lemon, and I will add some pepper too. There's no spices in this one, is there? Apart from the sambal. Oh, my eggplant looking good. I might turn that off for a minute because I reckon that's pretty close to being ready. Oh, Jamie, eat your heart out. That is brilliant. I'll just chop some parsley. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of orange juice to this pot au feu. Not too much, just gives it a little bit of fruitiness, which we like. Just mix that up. Now you don't want the carrots all mushy, but of course you want them to have a little bit of texture. I'll just have a little taste to see on the seasoning. Oh, that's beautiful. That orange just is lovely in that, it really is. I'll just put that over the back so that we can finish off our eggplant. We'll have a little taste, just to check the seasoning. Oh, that's good. That is good, my friends. Now I've got some spinach here. This makes life very simple. A big handful, and the reason we're going to add a big handful is, you know the story with spinach. It wilts away to nothing, so the big handful. Now, of course, you could serve this with rice if you liked. I don't think it really needs it, but it's up to you. Or noodles, yeah. Right, so we just need to wilt that spinach. So just keep turning it over. And as the sauce heats up, that will be ready. And let's start thinking about wine. Of course, we've got the white wine, the Swan Bay, but we've also got a Swan Bay red, which I think will go really well. Now, what is the variety? The Shiraz, yeah. That'll go really well with both of these. I'll tell you who also makes quite a lot of vegan-friendly wines is Yalumba. And they, like Scotchman Hill, make some very nice wine. I think that'll go really nicely in that black bowl because it's got some nice colour to it, hasn't it? Some chopped parsley on the top, a little bit of zest of lemon. You can also put orange on if you like, sort of like a gremolata. I'm just serving most of this, but as I said to you, I like the idea of just serving a 1 or 2 portion and putting the rest in the freezer. 2 lovely vegan stroke vegetarian dishes which will delight even the non-vegetarians in your family. Let's have a taste. Oh, that is good, guys. That is good.